You may hear about the Missouri Senate often, but do you ever wonder what's really going on behind the scenes? All of us here have people at home that we are representing. All of us here have matters that we think are serious for the state of Missouri. So we are trying to do things in an orderly fashion, and we cannot continue to have this chaos. I'm Senate Majority Leader Cindy O'Laughlin, and I'm here to give you that honest view of Missouri politics. Thanks for tuning in to our podcast, Hard Truth with Cindy O'Laughlin. Good afternoon. This is Hard Truth with Cindy O'Laughlin. Each week I come to you with news about what the Missouri Senate has been involved in. We're several weeks into session, and even though we got off to kind of a rocky start, we have been able to get legislation moving. So today we just finished third reading about 9 different bills, and a couple of things I wanted to point out that I feel are Republican priorities. One was a tax cut that was passed last year, and then we had some questions from our counties. The bill was Senate Bill 190. Among other things, the bill gave tax relief to senior citizens, but it did not spell out specifically every category that was included. So Senator Tony Luetkemeyer, who was the bill sponsor last year, has worked with the Missouri Association of Counties and come up with a fix. So we did third read that today, and it will be sent to the House. Some of the counties have actually already implemented the tax cut, but other counties wanted us to kind of give them a little more exact language, and that is what is included in the fix. So that is on its way to the Missouri House, and we'll see how it goes from there. We also today third read a bill from Senator Rusty Black, who is addressing the problem of the sheriff's retirement. There was a fee being collected previously that the Missouri Supreme Court has deemed unconstitutional, which then left our sheriffs with no way to fund their retirement. So today, Senator Rusty Black did third read a bill which would take care of that, and we will now send that on to the House and hopefully get that taken care of there. So I have previously had guests on the podcast, and today I have Senator Curtis Trent, who is from the Springfield area, and he today third read a bill which addressed a moratorium on evictions in cities, which turned out to be a problem when people were not keeping their payments current, and then cities were kind of coming in and saying, well, you know, you can't evict your tenant, which was very hard on the people who owned the property. So Senator Trent, thank you for joining me today. And if you would you please kind of describe what's included in your bill?
Yeah, Senator, thank you for having me on your show today. It's a real pleasure to be here. I was really happy we were able to third read the eviction moratorium bill today. And, you know, it's kind of an outgrowth of some sort of exigent circumstances that we had during the COVID period, where you had some municipalities that just tried to solve, problem with, non-collection of rents by just saying, well, even if your tenants aren't paying rent, you still can't evict them. And so it really amounted to, what I think probably skirted dangerously close to an unconstitutional taking, where, someone's property is basically being taken by the state without compensation. And I'm a big believer in property rights. I know that's something that's important to a lot of the folks that we represent, that they be secure in their property and that they not have it kind of arbitrarily seized and utilized by the government without any form of compensation. And so what this bill would do is very simply just prohibit local municipalities from engaging in that kind of conduct. Now, I always hasten to add that there's still a mechanism when you have a true emergency, and you can think of a lot of emergencies you could have earthquake, flood, anything where maybe you have a lot of people who are displaced and they need to be able to have emergency housing and they don't have the opportunity to pay rent because of whatever disruption is going on. Hopefully we never have another COVID situation, but should that occur, the governor has emergency authority to requisition housing and to put people in there on an emergency basis. But when the governor does it through the statutory authority that he possesses, it's compensated. And so the state would pay for the cost of taking that property and utilizing it for that emergency purpose. And I think that's the appropriate way to do it.
I agree.
Rather than doing it piecemeal, city by city, municipality by municipality, often with no compensation to the landowner.
So I think sometimes people feel or say that, Republicans are heartless and, we don't care about people who have run into really unfortunate circumstances. But I don't think that's true. I know that you don't think that's true either.
No.
And they're not taking into account, if you're an owner of rental property, you have to continue making your payments for insurance and maintenance and whatever else you have to pay for to keep the place inhabitable. And so to have people living there who, for whatever reason can no longer pay the rent, you're basically, adopting a bunch of people into your family. And this can present really a hardship on people. So I really appreciate your bringing the bill up, and I'm glad that it got taken care of.
Well, and that's a great point that you bring up as well, because it ends up working a hardship on the property owner. It creates a real big chilling effect on people's willingness to provide rental property in urban areas. And so if more people stop providing rental space in urban areas, it's only going to increase the cost of rent for the places that are left, because they feel like they have to basically, collect more money to offset the risk that their property would be taken at some point and utilized without compensation. And so you really end up hurting the most vulnerable in society, because now their rents are higher. It's harder for them to afford it. It's harder for them to have access to adequate housing. And so as is often the case with some of the folks on the other side of the aisle, it feels good, it sounds good until you really drill into the consequences of it and you realize, oh wait, this policy that sort of sounded good on the surface actually hurts the people it's intended to help more than anyone else.
Yes, exactly. It's not that we are heartless or cruel, but we understand that there's more to a situation than just the first problem that arises, and you have to follow that to the end, and then say, okay, if we try to step into this gap and allow people to do this, well, then what about the next 10 steps that have to take place? So
yeah, we want to actually help people, not just posture like we're helping people.
And there's a very real lack of housing for people.
Yeah.
A very real lack of housing. So for this to be, for cities to basically take your property, it really would stop people from having rental property. So I'm very glad that you brought that up today. I think all of the members of the Senate understood. And
we had pretty widespread support. So.
Yes, I'm assuming that you have a co-sponsor over on the other end of the building.
So there is a House version that's working its way through the process, and of course now the Senate bill will be in the House, and so hopefully the House will take that up, and it is a measure that has passed through the House before, so I expect that we'll have pretty good support over there as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So that concludes our podcast for today. I appreciate your watching Hard Truth with Cindy O'Laughlin, and thank you to Senator Trent for joining us today.